Hello and welcome back to another in-depth weather video. Today we're going to be covering many topics as there's a lot to cover. But first let's start out with the National Weather Service page and the watches, warnings, and advisories. But first, if you like this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell. Now let's go in depth. So we still have a few flash flood watches in multiple spots, including Arizona, and then a couple areas pertaining to the remnants of Laura, some heat advisories, and one of the main focuses of today, the red flag warnings. So let's move on here to the radar. So we have two groups of, I would say, just showers and thunderstorms. We have one here in Colorado and New Mexico, and we have this huge cluster here, which is, I think it's 3 systems. You had the derecho that pushed across South Dakota yesterday that weekend, and now it's kind of reformed into another line of thunderstorms. You have the remnants of Laura, and then you have another frontal boundary here that was, I think it's kind of part of Laura as well. But let's move on to the satellite imagery, where we can see some of that really clustery mess in the northeast. You can also see that storm in the Rocky Mountains into the plains, and then a few clouds in the Gulf of Mexico and Texas, and then a few in Mexico as well. Now let's move on to the fire weather outlook. So we do have elevated and critical risks today. We have critical risks in Washington and Oregon and Montana. Critical risks include some large population centers: Yakima, Washington; Missoula, Montana; Kennewick, Washington; Great Falls, Montana; and Richland, Washington. 47,508 square miles of land and a population of 1,174,476. Now let's move on to the Storm Prediction Center's thunderstorm or severe outlook. So we do have a few slight risks and a larger marginal risk. Slight risk in the Mid-Atlantic and Southeast, and another one in the Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, and Arkansas area. Slight risk includes 137,151 square miles and a population of about 39.3 million people. Includes New York City, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., and Virginia Beach. Marginal risk has 473.5 thousand square miles and a population of about 59.5 million, and includes Memphis, Tennessee, Charlotte, North Carolina, Boston, Massachusetts, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and Nashville, Tennessee. Now let's move on to the excessive rainfall outlook. Couple slight risks in West Virginia, Ohio, Virginia, DC, Maryland, and Delaware, and also in Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi. And then you have marginal risks in multiple spots as well, kind of pertaining to those two systems. If you're in the marginal risk, you have a 5 to 10% chance of exceeding flash flood guidance. And if you're in a slight risk, you have 10 to 20% chance of the same thing. Now let's move on to the tropics. So we do have Tropical Depression Laura, currently maximum sustained winds of 30 miles an hour, minimum central pressure of 1,003 millibars, and is moving east at 24 miles an hour. We do still have these two disturbances. One which has 20% chance in 48 hours, 30% chance in 5 days, and another one that has near 0% chance in 48 hours and 40% in 5 days. That is a medium risk for one of those systems. So let's move on here to the Eastern Pacific, where we're going to go into the 5-day outlook. Then we're going to go to the Central Pacific, where we do have 92C, 20% chance of development within 5 days. So that was a quick tropical update. Now let's go to the NAM. So we have two areas that we have to watch, which are those two clusters of thunderstorms. You have the Northeast, which is going to get a lot of rain, especially in the northern tier of the Northeast. Then you have some thunderstorms moving through the central part of the country. Now let's talk about thermodynamics and the temperature outlook here. Still triple digits in Texas, that's where those heat advisories are. Some 90s in the desert and the valleys of California. But otherwise, if you live in the south, you're going to be seeing generally 80s and 90s, as well as some areas here in the northern plains. And then generally, other than that, I think that 70s to 80s is the best bet there. A few 50s in Maine. That is mostly because of the cloud cover. Now, I do want to look at the GFS here, and we're going to go to the North Atlantic, because earlier today, it was showing some major news. We're actually going to go over here. Earlier today, I think it was an earlier model run, it was showing, I think it's going to show it here, yeah, a very strong storm moving northward, getting very close to Bermuda and the US East Coast. So I think that this is going to form about that September 10th timeline. We usually have a very powerful storm forming at or around September 10th, and I think this will be the storm. I think that we'll get this storm right over here that forms in probably the next few days or so, probably next week. That would be Nana, and then this would be the O storm. I do not know that name currently. I have to check on the list. If someone knows that, please comment in the comments section down below. But definitely something that we got to look at. We definitely got to track tropics here through the peak of hurricane season coming up in about 2 weeks. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.